Do you remember cricket's Champions League? No, not the football one, or the ones. There's loads in football. I'm talking about cricket's Champions League, or to give it its full title, the Champions League 2020. Hi, I'm Atif Nawaz, and today we're talking about one of cricket's most ambitious, confusing, and quietly fascinating experiments, the Champions League T20. A tournament that was supposed to be cricket's answer to the UEFA Champions League, and instead became what might have been story. The idea was simple on paper. Domestic T20 leagues were exploding. The IPL had arrived. Crowds loved this new fast format. So the big boards, the BCCI in India, Cricket Australia, and Cricket South Africa, that's the original big three. They decided, why not take the best T20 teams from around the world and put them into one big super tournament. The competition was launched in 2008 and the first edition took place in October 2009. It was huge prize money from day one. The tournament had a total prize pool of around $6 million, with $2.5 million going to the champions. At the time, this was the richest prize in franchise cricket. A massive global media rights deal was signed as well. It was valued at around $900 million over 10 years, plus extra for marketing. This wasn't a side project. This was meant to be the global club competition. The format changed a bit over the years, but the basic idea stayed the same. Teams qualified by winning or reaching the final of their domestic T20 tournaments. Sides from India, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, West Indies, Sri Lanka, England, and later Pakistan all had a pathway in. There was a group stage followed by semi-finals and a final. From 2011 onwards, they added a qualifying round where some champions had to battle just to make the main event. Let's talk about some of the tournaments. The first edition in 2009 was held in India. New South Wales Blues from Australia beat a brilliant Trinidad and Tobago side in the final. In 2010, hosted by South Africa, Chennai Super Kings beat the Warriors to take the title. In 2011, Mumbai Indians beat Royal Challengers Bangalore in a low-scoring, nervy final in Chennai. In 2012, Sydney Sixers hammered the Lions at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. Then in 2013 and 2014, it was back to India. Mumbai Indians beat Rajasthan Royals in 2013, and Chennai Super Kings chased down Kolkata Knight Riders in a high-scoring final in 2014. By the end, CSK and Mumbai had 2 titles each and were clearly the dominant clubs of the CL-T20 era. For the first few years, Pakistan's domestic champions were not invited. This was largely due to the political tensions and security issues after the 2008 Mumbai attacks. But that changed. In 2012, Sialkot Stallions, the legendary T20 side captained by Shoaib Malik, finally got a slot in the qualifiers in South Africa. They played in the CL-T20 qualifying tournament, losing to Auckland but beating Hampshire at the Wanderers, with Haris Sohail starring in that win. Then in 2014, Lahore Lions made it all the way to the main group stage in India, giving Pakistani fans a rare chance to see one of their domestic teams play IPL franchises on neutral turf. So on paper, the Champions League T20 sounds incredible. IPL giants like CSK and Mumbai up against Big Bash teams like New South Wales, Sydney Sixers, South African franchises like Lions and Dolphins, Caribbean sides, New Zealand's domestic winners, Pakistani champions in the later years. It was like a multiverse crossover episode for T20 nerds. So what went wrong? The short answer is the audience never fully bought it. After 6 editions, the boards pulled the plug in 2015, officially citing poor viewing figures and lack of interest. Crowds in many games, especially those without Indian teams, were sparse. TV ratings were patchy. For the kind of money involved, it just wasn't delivering. There were other problems as well. The calendar was already crowded. CL-T20 usually sat in September to October, jammed between domestic seasons, tours, and the IPL's own footprint. Players were exhausted. Some stars chose rest over another tournament. England's counties eventually withdrew altogether because the English season clashed too much, and their boards weren't keen on rewiring the schedule for a tournament mostly held in India. Then there were the identity issues. The CL-T20 never really developed a soul of its own. The IPL had clear branding. It was India's league. The Big Bash was Australia's. The PSL was Pakistan's, and so on and so forth. The Champions League was a kind of international mashup that many casual fans struggled to emotionally invest in. They already had their franchise loyalties. Asking them to care about, say, a New Zealand domestic champion against a South African franchise on a weekday night in India was a big ask. There were also complications around players who qualified with more than one team. Imagine a West Indian player who'd played a season in the IPL and also for his home domestic side who had both qualified. Who does he play for? The CL-T20 rule said he could choose, but IPL sides often had the first claim or financial leverage. That caused confusion and occasionally resentment. And it reinforced the feeling that non-IPL teams were second-class guests at someone else's party. By 2014, it was obvious the momentum wasn't growing. Then in July 2015, the boards announced that the 2015 edition was cancelled and the tournament itself discontinued. Reports at the time spoke of dwindling crowds, weak ratings, sponsorship stagnation, and a sense of the effort required to keep the CLT20 just wasn't worth the return. But that's not where the story ends, because the idea of a global club tournament still refuses to die. In recent years, there have been renewed discussions about reviving a Champions League style event, possibly under ICC guidance, with a smarter schedule and a clearer role in the calendar. Some reports have suggested a rebooted version under a new name could appear this decade, maybe hosted in a neutral venue like England with fewer teams and a tighter format. The basic logic is still attractive. Let the champions of the IPL, PSL, Big Bash, SA20, CPL, and others settle for bragging rights on the field. Let's see what happens. But in the meantime, what's the legacy of the Champions League T20? First, it showed that global franchise crossover is possible and fun, but it needs the right timing, marketing, and structure. Second, it highlighted how central the Indian market is to these ventures. The tournament always skewed towards Indian teams and Indian fans because that's where the money was. Third, it gave a generation of players a chance to test themselves against teams from leagues they'd never normally face, and gave fans a few great one-off clashes to remember. And yes, for Pakistani fans, there's a niche but special memory: Sialkot Stallions and Lahore Lions finally stepping onto that stage, even briefly, after years of being shut out. In the end, the Champions League T20 was a bold idea that arrived slightly before its time with a slightly clumsy execution. It burned bright, stumbled, and faded. But if and when a new global club tournament appears, more streamlined, better marketed, properly scheduled, you'll know exactly where the inspiration came from. Because before today's franchise world became what it is, there was a tournament that tried to crown the true club champions of cricket. It was flawed, it was fascinating, and it was called Champions League T20. Thank you for watching. If you found this interesting, hit subscribe and comment below with which crazy cricket story you'd like next. Until next time, see ya!